Hello, my name is Mugisha Emanzi from Uganda, and I'm here at the Pan-African Parliament Conference, and we're discussing the means of revolutionizing education in Africa. So there is very many approaches that we can embrace as a people of Africa. However, most imperative of them has to be the aspect of getting a unified education system that we embrace. Because apparently in Uganda, after very many years of advocacy and banging the tables, we embraced the new curriculum, which is a curriculum-based, the curriculum-based approach, and it was more transformational to switch from the colonial old education system to a more comprehensive approach and system that we think will put students at the center of learning and the teachers as facilitators of the learning process. So the competence-based curriculum that was embraced in Uganda, I'm using an example of Uganda for now because that is what I'm most competent in, but I'm sure Kenya has also embraced a new education system and other African countries. So the competence-based curriculum puts the student at the center of learning and the teacher as a facilitator of knowledge transfer and learning. And this has helped young people become more creative in the way that they think, in the way that they learn, and also increase their participation in the different activities that are both academic and that are co-curricular, you know. And in that education system, we've seen young people as early as P4, P5, that would be like, I don't know what grade that would be here in Kenya, but this is mid-primary. They've started coming up with innovations and technologies and ideas that are actually quite transformative. In one of the schools in Uganda, children under the age of 12 in their group under the foundation of Fundi Robotics, they came up with an idea of having robots, manufacturing of robots that could be used in the process of irrigation. And this was between students between 12 to 10 years. And to me, as a person that is very passionate about education in Africa, to me that's a quantum leap in the positive direction of education on the continent. Secondly, we have to also embrace the indigenous knowledge systems of Africa. Growing up, before we got colonized, how did our ancestors used to study? There was already a system which was primarily based on transfer of knowledge from the older generation to the younger generations through folk tale, games, and among others. And this knowledge system, I do not think it is wise for us Africans to abandon it, because now when we do that, we are losing something very valuable to us, which is our history, our root, and our belonging. Because as much as we are embracing the new education that is looking at more complex and contemporary aspects like space exploration, information systems, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, and machine learning, we still have to incorporate it in the context of the African value so that it serves the interest of us as the people. I'm not saying that we have to block or not have any collaborative synergies with other players, but the, the revolution starts with us taking the lead as people defending what we think works for us and then scaling it out to means that work for us. Artificial intelligence in education, to me, has been one of the most revolutionary things in education in the last 20 years. And the reason that I'm saying this is because there is a lot of innovations that have happened overnight and they have transformed lives immensely in a very short time. For example, back in the day, children or learners with physical disability, like those with hearing or visual disabilities, they were actually not given an opportunity to go to school because there were no tools, there were no aftercare services for them, and there was, of course, no training for the facilitators or the teachers about how to handle these cases, how to facilitate the learning process of these people with special needs. However, with the AI now, we are looking at some of the innovations that are coming out to facilitate this process of learning to especially some people, young people with physical disabilities. That is one. But also making it more convenient, one, accessible, three, um, 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 convenient, accessible, and not expensive for young people to acquire. Because if I have my mobile phone and I download the Kenyan app called Kitabu, I know that I'm going to have access to all the books for primary and all the books for secondary, so I will not need to spend more money, which I might not have, buying those textbooks, which are already expensive and very hard to afford for most sub-Saharan countries in Africa. One of the things that we highlighted among some of the hindrances of access to education in Africa was the level of poverty. So if I don't have, if my parents as a student earn less than a dollar a day, how am I going to tell them to buy me a book of $5? So chances are high I'll miss out on that information. But with this app, it facilitates that. Then the other thing about AI, the aspect of virtual reality, this is something that has actually created so much opportunities for young people to study and learn remotely at the comfort or in the comfort of their homes as long as they have access to the internet. This gives the children a virtual experience of being as if they are in an actual classroom, even if they are not, and that has created, it has bridged the gap about some of the issues that were highlighted in the gaps that we have in education, like infrastructure, long distances to class, not having resources like books, capital, and sanitary towels for young girls, that leads to period poverty, among other things. So with AI, tools like augmented reality, I can sit at the back room and attend a class in, say, New York or in Joburg when I'm in Kenya. To me, that's a plus, and I think that is something that we have to embrace and scale to all African countries to, yeah, yeah.
To wrap it up, do you think there's a need to fund African students who are doing research because they are the one who understand the problem?
And I think one of the reasons that Africa has taken long to jump on this bandwagon of promoting young talents, innovation, and skills development of young people is because we realized it late that actually, if we created, by we I mean African people, especially the duty bearers, if they created a specific fund to promote the talent, gifts, and innovations of young people, this will bolster a lot of innovations because even the innovations that are out there right now, they are less than 10% of what is actually supposed to be out there. The United Nations report on education in 2003 showed that Africa needs, at least for its innovation of the young people, funding of about 56 billion US dollars. Apparently, there was only 15 billion US dollars, which is very little money, to fund these ideas and get them off the script into actualization to create the real transformation that we want. So the aspect of funding to young entrepreneurs has to be put at the forefront of these conversations because funding goes hand in hand with policy, policy goes hand in hand with execution, and then the other aspects of monitoring and evaluation, and then scaling it to make sure that we, one, fulfill the aspiration of the African Union Agenda 2063 of having a populated, healthy, educated Africa based on hinged on science and technology. Also, aspiration of education under the Sustainable Development Goals, among others, and also other different frameworks, development frameworks that our countries are signatory to. I would like to share my 2 cents on the aspect of commercialization of African innovations, gifts, and talents. When you realize that one of the reasons that has been an impediment to the economic growth of most African countries is because the young people that have immense gifts and talents are being left to fend for themselves. If you look at maybe the highest grossing TikTokers, YouTubers, Facebookers in our economies, they absolutely have no help from the government or a helping hand. Yet, there has been evidence that if such content that they produce is commercialized, it can transform lives. In grown economies, or rather what we call advanced economies, we see that young people use their phones, social media applications, as a tool of making money. Why? Because they commercialized it. And one of the reasons that has been an impediment to the commercialization of this aspect is the rigid policies in most of our African states. For example, in my country back home, Facebook is still banned, Uganda. You can't access Facebook. So we access it through virtual private networks. But my question is, even when it is banned, we still have very many young people, especially, that produce content on Facebook and it generates them a lot of income. And the irony is that even the government, many a time when it's trying to put out communication, it puts it on Facebook, the same platform that it banned. So we are trying to speak to the duty bearers as the young people that, yo, I think it is time for us to embrace the new digital revolution wave, and we put aside what I would like to call egotistical tendencies that are for the old generation. Because if you know this is a tool that can help young people generate income, why do I block it? So that means that I'm actually fighting against my own people. And these are some of the triggers that are pushing the young people to the wall. In the recent couple of weeks and months, we saw the young people in Kenya rising to the streets and under the coining of Angukanai. We don't want this to happen, to be replicated in other African countries. But when you close all opportunities or channels for young people to express themselves, express their grievances, share their knowledge and wisdom, or even ignorance and learn, then you are pushing them in a precarious situation where they become liabilities to the growth and development of their communities and the state, and they also become a burden, which we know we are not. As young people, we know that we are the resource because statistically, Africa has 70% of the population of the young people of the people in Africa are young people, and it is the youngest continent. So we have to use this demographic dividend to our advantage. How do we harness the creativity, the power, the energy, and the intelligence of the young people? So please, let's have policies that are streamlined to facilitate young people's involvement in one, productive activities, through two, innovation, three, education as a matter of urgency, and four, funding. And also let's protect these gifts through the patents. When a young person comes and has their innovation, let the duty bearers take it upon themselves to patent that for this child, not to take it on as them so that they can gain political mileage. I beg to submit. My name is Mugisha Emanzi, Black Power.